Give me a second.
Back here? Yeah.
All right, good evening, everyone. We'll start in a few minutes. If you guys can grab your seats, or for those of you on seats, stand for please.
Oh, there. Oh, okay. Oh, what's your name, Chris? Oh, great, fantastic. Yeah, I put together that dinner. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cool. I'm here for a few weeks, and I'm mostly on basic.
Please grab your seats or your standing room section.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you in San Francisco? Yeah. Okay, great.
Just like a couple weeks in Taiwan. Just hanging out with
Yeah. You and I are regular friends, so whenever he asks, I do.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah. Let me introduce you to our friend. You know Tom. Chris from Very Long Country.
I'm still here.
In Taiwan?
I was in Taipei for a couple weeks with film for UCC. I met some new people from Joyce.
You guys are put up all drinks, please.
Hey.
All right.
I'm sorry, I
Grab all drinks. You can grab your seats.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks in Taiwan.
Alex, can you read the top please?
Oh yeah, I'll check out what you got to drink.
He's in Canada, so he's a nice guy. That's it. Paul,
Alright, you good?
addiction.
Can you talk tonight?
Thanks for shooting tonight.
What do we do? I don't know. Is it ever this full? No. It's never this full. You've never seen it this full.
I'm going to try to hide over there.
It's probably the host of this is like a rock.
Yeah. I wonder where the camera is, because that light stream is not working pretty well. No, you can't actually hear, huh? Yeah. No, it's right here. Is it real? Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
They're both. It's both. This is for China. This is for US.
That's pretty sweet.
Gotcha.
Welcome to the internet, huh?
I'm going to sneak out that way with you.
Hey everyone, we're about to begin with the first lightning talk. So we're going to have a moment of silence, and we're going to present God's song from Oasis Labs to be your talk. Everyone enjoy it. I messed up, sorry. False start. Matt is an amazing engineer, by the way. Okay. So where's Abby? Abby, you watching in Berkeley? So thank you guys for coming out tonight. This is it's a pretty packed house on there. So apologize, we couldn't get a lot of your friends or friends in because we're at capacity. But we're super excited to welcome everyone that's here tonight. Our lightning talk speakers, to Jason, the Congressman, and of course Vitalik, the guest of honor right here. So thank you very much for attending. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a series of lightning talks with 5 very distinct speakers. And then we're going to move into the Fireside Chat with Jason and Vitalik. We want to thank some of the people organizing here. And Jason, if you want to take the honors and thank everyone. Can someone help you with that?
Sure. First of all, good evening, San Francisco. My name is Jason Shi. I'm a legislator and a member of parliament from Taiwan. And you can also call me Crypto Congressman. And this is actually the nickname that's given by Vitalik. And this nickname has been traveling over the world. And I now have the official mandate from the government of Taiwan. I print Crypto Congressman on my business card. So it's Jason Shi, legislator, aka Crypto Congressman. So very happy to meet all of you. First of all, I'd like to thank Marcus and Steve and his crowd and Matt, my buddy, to put this together literally 48 hours. And also Berkeley, Project and Berkeley guys, Happy and Andrew, wave your hands to everyone. Yeah, thank you guys for bringing the resident also. And secondly, I want to thank the speakers today who really come together to showcase what are some of the coolest projects that they are working on. And also, I have the whole crew from Taiwan. Taiwan crew, please wave your hand. Lai Li, Wesley Guo, and Tom Song. They will be talking about their project too. Lastly, my buddy, Vitalik, it's always good to see you. I got to know the blockchain space literally through Vitalik. He's been my best source of knowledge, and he and I, we always talk a lot about the regulation and some of the development and the difficulties that the space is running into. So he and I will be doing a fireside chat, and look forward to interacting with all of you. So thank you very much.
Is it live VC or LYVC? LYVC.
Okay, before we start off, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this evening, LYVC, OKCoin, Trust Token, Solana, and CoinToken. So thank you very much for this evening. You guys made all this evening happen for all of us right here. They're providing all the food and the drink. So thank you again very much. And then, let's see, can you introduce the first speaker, please?
Yeah, so I want to introduce Professor Tom Song. I don't think she needs an introduction, but she is a co-founder and CEO of Oasis Labs, as well as a professor at UC Berkeley. She's spent significant time researching and developing privacy and security technologies. She's been recognized by numerous awards such as the Guggenheim Fellowship, McCall Fellowship, and more. And outside of academia, obviously, she's a serial entrepreneur, having done Oasis as well as inside security and mental security. So we extend a warm welcome to Professor Tom Song.
Hi everyone, thanks a lot for being here. And I'm really glad to be here. And people here. Okay, great. So first off, I see a lot of supporters of Oasis staff here. So first, thanks a lot for our project. Thank you. So can people in the back here? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so yes, I'm a professor at UC Berkeley and a founder and CEO at Oasis Labs. Today I'll give a quick introduction of what we do at Oasis for building privacy-preserving smart contracts at scale. So first, let's look at some of the problems that we are trying to solve. So first, everybody knows that data is the new oil. All this data is really helpful, helping us to gain insights and help us making decisions. But however, a lot of this data is really sensitive, and there are a lot of challenges when we are trying to accomplish them. So first of all, data breaches have become commonplace, and also at the same time, a lot of valuable data is being siloed. For example, in healthcare, in financial services, a lot of the sensitive data is being locked up, and actually it's difficult for medical researchers and so on to actually get access to the data to do the work they want. For example, to develop better cures for diseases. at the same time, users are using control of their data, as evidenced in the recent Cambridge Analytica incident. So we are here for blockchain. Blockchain promises to be a transformative technology that can help us potentially transform many different segments in industry because it's openness and not relying on central party and the ultimate enforcement of agreements. So today on blockchain we see payments, we see ICOs, we see cryptocurrency. But in the future, we hope that blockchain can really enable a lot of new types of applications much beyond these and to help us again to transform many different industries. So at Oasis, we are building a new type of technology for privacy-first cloud computing on blockchain to help us actually to solve many of the problems that I mentioned earlier, and also to help us to enable these new applications that we want to build in the future that we couldn't build today. And at high level, Oasis platform is a unique combination of a set of capabilities and properties, and it provides strong security and privacy protection for data and use, provides high scalability, is able to scale to real-world applications at cloud scale, and to enable complex smart contract applications, even including, for example, machine learning and data analytics. And all this is going to enable to do it in a decentralized manner so that we don't have to rely on any central party. And the core of Oasis platform is that, again, we enable privacy-preserving smart contracts at scale. And one of the key primitives that we provide on our platform is privacy-preserving smart contracts, which offers a number of unique capabilities and properties. It provides automatic enforcement of codified privacy requirements, so the privacy of the smart contract is coded into the smart contract. And they can achieve this without relying on any central party. They can scale to real-world applications, including machine learning, and it's specifically designed to make it easy to use, to make it easier for application developers to build privacy-preserving applications without needing to be an expert in security and privacy. And to enable this, we developed a number of technologies, including at the computation layer, at the platform layer, we enable confidentiality preserving smart contract execution. And at the application layer, we enable differential privacy and privacy preserving analytics and machine learning. And also at the platform layer, we build the new blockchain architecture for scalable smart contract execution. Actually, I want to go into the details of the actual technology, but at very high level, to enable confidentiality preserving smart contract execution, we combine a number of different secure computation techniques, including leveraging secure hardware as well as crypto-based techniques. And for secure hardware, we actually have a new research project in collaboration with MIT and Berkeley, building an open source secure enclave called Keystone, that we plan to have a first release this fall. And also for the privacy preserving data analytics and machine learning, some of the technologies we actually have real-world deployments at Buterin. And for scalability, we design new architectures for separating execution from consensus to enable scalability for smart contracts, complex smart contracts, including, for example, machine learning and data analytics. I want to just end the short presentation with an application that that developer is actually building on top of the Oasis platform. This is in the healthcare space called Pantera, and this is in collaboration with collaborators as well as doctors from Stanford. So Pantera is a privacy-preserving tokenized data market for medical data. So medical data is locked. Much of the medical data is locked in data silos. So the goal is to incentivize doctors and patients to share data and improve medical research. So using Pantera, users and patients, they can upload their medical data to the Oasis blockchain platform. It will be encrypted in the Oasis blockchain platform. And then medical researchers can use the privacy-preserving smart contract primitive provided by the Oasis blockchain platform. And inside the privacy-preserving smart contract, the meta researchers can include, for example, code for training machine learning models and serving machine learning models. And the smart contract can also state terms of use. For example, the user's data will only be used for training the machine learning models in a privacy-preserving way in the smart contract. And it will state how users will be rewarded for contributing the data to the smart contract. So as users agree with the terms of use of the smart contract, the users can then contribute data to the smart contract. And as the smart contract collects enough data, they can then start training the machine learning model, and then the medical researchers can then evaluate the machine learning model. So in this way, it can significantly reduce the friction for medical researchers and pharmaceutical companies to gain access to patient data, to develop machine learning models, to develop better cures for diseases. And this is just one of the many examples how people can build intelligent smart contracts on top of the blockchain platform and in the privacy-preserving manner. And with the set of unique capabilities that the Oasis platform provides, we hope that the Oasis platform can enable a really broad spectrum of different applications in many different domains, including healthcare, IoT, and financial services. And I wanted to mention that Oasis Labs, we just recently launched, and it's great to see the excitement and the strong support from the community. And we have launched our private testnet. We're inviting that developers to join our testnet and to together build applications on top of the Oasis platform. And to summarize, at Oasis platform, at Oasis Labs, we are building a privacy-first, high-performance cloud computing platform on blockchain, and we are hiring. Thank you.
Next up is our very own homeboy from Taiwan, Wesley Guo. He's going to talk about decentralized mining and blockchain gaming and AI. So let's give it up for Wesley.
Thank you. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. It's my honor to be here to share our progress in Taiwan with you. So today we want to share two things. We solve the problem in blockchain and how we want to solve it. Okay. So the first one, also I want to introduce my partner, Tom Song. He's also from Taiwan. He's running his own decentralized exchange in Taiwan called JoySoft. And he used to be a famous ASIC design engineer, and he even mined his own crypto miner IC that can support like Litecoin 2 years ago. So we would like to address two issues. First one is, big man now is basic, like almost 50% of the overall mine power or hash power, which make the whole community very, very worried about once they easily over 51% change later, right? So we want to raise a new idea called decentralized mining. Everybody can mine through the highway power of Taiwan that even big men that are using the manufacturing by TSMC in Taiwan and Nanjing. So we're working with Tom's team, try to make like a very advanced manufacturing process, like 7 nanometer, 12 nanometer for like Bitcoin, ETC, ECH, or even Litecoin that can be easily make a very small piece in your USB download, your memory, your hard drive. You can easily go to Best Buy, go to any retail store, or you buy some components of your module to equip or upgrade your PC. So by doing that, we can make the overall mining business be more decentralized, more balanced. I think Vitalik's here too. I think everybody wants to be more fair and balanced way to support the whole community. So what we do is, for example, we have that's what Tom's previous work when he made 28 nanometer, 40 nanometers Litecoin miner that actually the peak wants to account 20% of the whole mining power for Litecoin. And now we're going to make something like a very small piece that can be bundled to your USB device, your PCI device. And by the way, this is very new to everyone. This previous work made by TSMC Fed 12 mask. This is a previous Litecoin mask, which is represent to that one. With this, in TSMC, you can make small chip. Well, actually, if you have interest, you can circuit, but don't touch the surface. It has some chemical particle that's some pollution there, but you can see. So we're going to make a new one based on like the 7 nanometer that can hash per unit the same level or even better than Bitman. But we're not targeting the top tier professional miner, like you spend $5,000, you need a large bunch of data center and power and cooling for that. We make this low power, is 5 watt, 10 watt, small pieces you can carry with you. You can plug it into any device, like PC or server or workstation. So everybody become a miner, everybody support the whole community. So I think that's the right way, and that's also how Taiwan, with our strengths in hardware and manufacturing, can work with all of you. So if you have an interest, feel free to talk to me or Tom. That we can, brainstorming how we can find more partners and channels and make the whole hash power even stronger. That make the whole community more balanced and beautiful. Okay, so this is the first idea we want to share today. And then the second one is actually talking about my company and something very interesting for AI and gaming. So Ubiquitous, we are the largest CPU and gaming cloud provider, especially in Asia and Japan. So I'm the founder and CEO of this company. Our major customers including like Nintendo, Sony, Samsung, Sega, Square, etc. And in the past few years, we have built very big capacity in Japan, 2 data centers, 40 petabyte computing power. If you look at the top 500 supercomputers in the world, we are actually number 5. We have tens of thousands of GPU in Japan. So our GPU computing power is even bigger than Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. I confirm with that. So why we build this big one? Because we do a lot of business with these gaming companies. And today, we also want to solve another problem is about the vacant or wasted computing power. For example, gamer, they play game usually at a quiet time. If you don't watch Netflix, YouTube, basically play games from like 7 p.m. after dinner until like 11 before going to bed. So there are a lot of vacant capacity after midnight till the daytime. So GPU used to be, here for like 3D rendering, 3D graphics games, and these days it's getting hard also for blockchain and also AI. So we want to make a new platform called GAS, GPU as a service, that at nighttime you play games, in the daytime you offer that rental for AI machine learning training and also work with the blockchain. So we have a partner that's creating a project called Asobu. So what is Asobu? Asobu in Japanese is play. It means play. So we observe all the tier 1 tech companies like Google, Facebook, OpenAI after Google challenged Apple to the world champion. Now a lot of tech companies focus how to train AI play games, right? So they play Dota, they play StarCraft, and the Asobu AI is to use our strengths to work with all the game publishers to make a token that can be a reward to the gamer who help their game's AI intelligence improve. So we call the consensus called POP, proof of play. The more you play, the better you play, then you earn more reward. So look, today, people here, I guess you're not really a hardcore gamer because you understand this fish here. the real gamer, the young gamer, they have time, they have talent, they have a skill, they have a passion, but actually they don't have money. So our reward model is we want them to be like an AI trainer. So they contribute their training record to the AI system. So the game can become better. So the AI can either become like a auto debugger for always new DLC content. In the future, today, people train AI to write music. People to write try to train AI to write poison. How about AI in the future can create a content inside the game like Minecraft? You make a new castle and sell you $10. So we have some interesting progress right now that we could share with you. Yeah. So this is a live demonstration POC. As you can see, this is a commercial game in Japan we are running today in our cloud. So the AI is learning from humans driving behavior of this racing game. So you look, it's very slow. So all the 0, 1, those numbers actually tell you that AI machines try to analyze if my friend should I speed up or brake or turn right or turn left. And after 40 hours of training, can I switch to the next video? Just after 40 hours input with human gamers of play data, then you can see this is real. This is an AI play by himself. It's just like a normal player. It's not the best because our goal is not like an AlphaFold to challenge a human champion. We just want to, when a user play game that's more fun, we want to make your player, your NPC, your gaming AI be like close skill like you. Or when you team up with friend play Dota, play LOL, you just want matching. I don't want to give you 100, like level 100. That invisible, nobody have fun. I want that level 30. I give you an AI that's close to your skill. I give you a great teammate for you. So that will make the game company make more money because user retention is better, the output is higher, the pair is better. So this is something we would like to share. The second thing is that how to use the backending or wasted computer, especially GPU, to make the game and AI and blockchain together. And by the way, all the players' contribution to gaming AI, we put it on chain. It's not just like gamer get a reward, how I get money, I can consume it to buy more virtual goods. Actually, it's also my personal achievement. I can tell my friend or my girlfriend, say, hey, look, in LOL, in which sector of the blockchain is my record, I have LOL improve and AI for 1%. Okay, it's really a show of stuff, but I think a lot of people are going to really love this. So this is the overall idea, and we are start some early preparation. And if you have any interest, you can contact the association and also videos. And thanks for everyone listening. I hope this is something inspiring you to all of you. Thanks.
I just have no way of contacting you.
Oh yeah, no,
My computer and my phone.
Do you need to?
Do you want
to use my phone?
Hey everyone, we're moving on to our third speaker. If you could actually have everyone quiet down, please. Guys in the back, if you guys want to talk, please go outside. Cool. So our third speaker is Yin Liu, CEO of Dirt Protocol. He's got some really exciting trends about Ethereum to discuss.
Hi everyone, I'm Yin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Dirt. So I first heard about the cryptocurrency space back in 2013, and back then you really just had Bitcoin. Now there's entire new ecosystems being built out. You have Ethereum, you have new blockchains like Oasis, you have privacy tokens, you have decentralized exchanges. And for a lot of these projects, in order to raise funding, they often do it through an ICO. You can think of an ICO, which is an initial coin offering, as similar to an IPO with one big difference in that there's no revenue. The amount of funding raised through ICOs increased 60x in 2017. It went from a little over maybe 60 million to over 5 billion in just 1 week. And it's not slowing down. In the first quarter of this year, more funding was raised through ICOs than in all of 2017 combined. The problem because the space is unregulated is that with a lot of these companies, you can really raise millions of dollars on little more than a profit. So this is a useful infographic that can teach you how to raise an ICO if anyone is interested. You effectively come up with an idea, raise some funding, and then the last step is profit. The problem because the space is unregulated is that fraud and plagiarism is a huge issue. White papers often steal content from other legitimate projects. The SEC has stepped in on a few cases to regulate the space, but given the number of companies that are coming up and raising funding, it's really hard to keep up. Today, if you want to raise funding, there is no basic set of disclosures that are required. Basic information such as the team and audit financials are mostly not available. So with any new financial network, you tend to have a new information network that rises at the same time. When we think about private equity, there's PitchBook. For the public markets, you have Bloomberg. But for the cryptocurrency space, this is largely listed. So the question that we wondered was, how can you find trusted data for the cryptocurrency space when crypto is very different than other markets? It's by default unregulated, it's international, and it's listed processing fees are expanding. So today to find reliable information, we also go to the site, it's CoinMarketCap. CoinMarketCap is like the Yahoo Finance for the cryptocurrency space. It is the number 2 site in finance, second only to Yahoo Finance, and ahead of Vitalik. It's a private company, but rumors are that it made over $100 million last year on advertising and other activities. Today, there's a benchmark index for cryptocurrency pricing. Many hedge funds often look towards CoinMarketCap and mark-to-market calculate their profits based on the numbers on CoinMarketCap. But there's one big problem, and the problem is a lot of the data on CMC is actually not correct. So we have this entire new financial market, but a lack of reliable information. So this is the profile page for Bitcoin. If we look at the leading website, it actually links to the site on Bitcoin Cash. It's unclear how different token projects can be added to CoinMarketCap. You apply to join the site and it takes weeks, if not months, to finally be added. So if you're a new token project wanting to share with users what you're building, it's really hard to join the site. The average price of a token is more of an art rather than a science because processing across exchanges. It's actually hard to know what different set of exchanges you should pull prices from. The circulating supply affects the market cap of different tokens. Whether you're on the first page of CoinMarketCap matters for how you trade. We really saw the influence of CoinMarketCap this year. This was back in January. So it tends to be that Korean markets trade 20 to 30% higher than average. There's what's called a kimchi premium. It's really hard to get Korean won out of the country. So for a lot of these tokens, Korea is a great market. But the problem is, CoinMarketCap decided in Korea to remove Korean markets from the average price calculation. So what it looked like was that in a single day, $35 billion just dropped from the cryptocurrency market out of it. Some tokens like Ripple crashed 20 billion in a single moment. And what's shocking is that nothing tangible has actually changed. The only thing that was different was the perception of prices. Headlines at leading financial papers indicate there's a crash in the cryptocurrency markets. This leads to general panic selling in an actual secondary crash that took weeks to recover from. And on the side of CoinMarketCap was a single tweet 6 hours after this change was made saying, hey guys, we decided to remove the Korean markets from the average price calculation. It's surprising today that now we have this entirely new decentralized ecosystem, but still effectively a single source of truth. We rely on centralized services to find reliable information, even though for a lot of these tokens, what we're betting on is a decentralized future. So the question we ask at DIRT is how can you build reliable and trusted data without relying on the source for that information? So with DIRT, we're building a protocol for decentralized validation of trusted data. And what we do is we create a set of rules that make it economically irrational for a live persistence. For those of you that have been in crypto for a while, you may be familiar with the concept of a token curated registry. A token curated registry is effectively just a list, and token holders decide what is on this list. So the way it works is in order to share any information to this list, you need to deposit tokens. That's your skin in the game. That's your sign to the world that this information is correct. If anyone finds misinformation in the network, you can deposit tokens to challenge it. If there's a challenge that leads to a vote, anyone can then vote with tokens. One token, one vote. If you win the vote, then you earn tokens. If you lose the vote, then you lose your stake. So with these set of rules, you create an incentive for people to be moderators in the system, and you discourage folks from lying and misrepresenting information. So with DIRT, we're not building a token curated registry. Rather, we're a protocol for TCI, and we allow anyone to build a database of information that is essentially curated and can also be trusted. What we've designed for our series of smart contracts is to make it adaptable to different types of information. One of the tricky parts with a lot of these projects with cryptoeconomics is that it's actually really hard to know what's going to work unless you actually launch. So with DIRT, we have an adaptable set of parameters. For some data sets, we want a really high stake to share information so that every writer has more skin in the game, so that more to lose if they're being dishonest. For other types of data, we want there to be a low stake, so that there's a greater velocity and challenge in voting to ensure that the information stays upvoted. For some types of vote or some types of data, you can have a public vote style. For others, you can have a private vote. And with our protocol, we can test different types of TCRs to see what will be the ones that generate the most useful data sets. So we're starting with curating useful and reliable information about the cryptocurrency space because today that doesn't exist. But really, this protocol can be used across many use cases. DIRT is a protocol that makes it economically irrational for misinformation and persistence. It's also a system that's decentralized. So in any ecosystem where you don't trust a centralized curator, which today is in the crypto space, or it can be political information, such as looking at the exchange rate of the Bolivia or Venezuela, DIRT is a valuable alternative. So like many of the companies here today, we are also hiring. So we're interested in building the data layer for Ethereum or what's now.
Awesome, thank you so much. Matt? Hey, Matt. I guess I'm speaking now.
Matt's coming.
So the next speaker is Paul Veradittakit. Paul, are you? Okay. Come on over here.
Hey.
Okay. Also known as Paul V, because he's got a pretty short last name on there. Paul is a partner at Pantera Capital, which is one of the best known investment funds in the crypto space. I think Paul, back 4 or 5 years ago, said, hey Steve, you want to invest in a Bitcoin investment fund that we're doing? Didn't do it. Last year it was about 25,000%. But I think the opportunity, not missing out at all. But yeah, he also, Paul, is another Cal Bear. Do we need Cal Bears in the house here? Yeah. Cal Bear. And also, Paul helped lead the $100 million ICO fundraise last year for Pantera on there. And one of the most well-known investors in the space, Paul V, to collect.
Thank you very much. Yeah, really excited to be here. I'm also a member of the Modernists and known Steve for I think about 20 years or something like that. I don't know, it seems like forever. But you know, I've been with Pantera for the last 4.5 years, and Pantera, it's myself, Dan Moorhead from Tiger Management, and Joey Koo, the blogger, and we've been just tackling the space for the last 2 years all together. But me and Dan have been working in the space for the last 4.5 years. So, really wanted to start off by telling you guys a little bit about the path that Pantera has taken to invest into companies. And then, of course, what are some of the hotter trends in the industry right now? And then, of course, looking forward, what are some of the spaces that we think we'll be investing into in the future? And then lastly, just wanted to kind of throw out there what we think is needed for the ecosystem. So I'll just forward. So starting in 2009, we saw people starting to speculate into cryptocurrency, and a lot of these guys were early gold bugs and libertarians. Starting in 2013, that's kind of when really Pantera started investing, and a lot of people started putting capital into Bitcoin. And then we started seeing some early investments into exchanges, wallets, and payment processors. What we think is sort of needed for how do you buy, how do you store, and how do you start speculating on cryptocurrencies. But what we really thought was going to be the big use case for cryptocurrency was around cross-border payments. And at the end of the day, banks are taking huge amounts of fees and really slowing down the process of moving money across borders because they have the incentive to do so. So what if you could move money, move capital across borders without any intermediaries whatsoever? So we started investing into a bunch of different companies that are helping facilitate cross-border payments on the consumer side, the business side, and even the enterprise side. And then now phase 4, which I think many of you guys have gotten really excited about. Have you guys ever heard of a token or an ICO? Maybe? What is that, right? Well, basically what is allowed is companies to fundraise and build decentralized companies, distributed companies, and of course, later on, decentralized applications. And this is really exciting for us because at the end of the day, this really enables more and more legacy companies to be disrupted. So I just want to point out a few areas of disruption that we've seen already. One area, we think is around the sharing economy. So at the end of the day, there are a lot of middlemen in marketplaces that take a lot of unnecessary fees for performing actions that build trust. One area that we've done is invest into a company called Origin, which my buddy Matt is the CEO right there, but basically they are disintermediating existing legacy businesses by providing a decentralized architecture, tools, and platform for people to build the next decentralized Airbnb, Uber, freelance marketplace, etc. So that's removing the middleman. The next use case that we've looked at is how do we enable new markets? With decentralization, you can build companies that sort of run on their own and aren't controlled by one single entity. And of course, that means that you can build companies that sort of circumvent regulations that prevent certain use cases like gaming and gambling and payments that are associated with that. So things like Otter, Pantera, things that sort of enable people to basically speculate in a peer-to-peer manner without a middleman really enables new markets, global markets to be built around certain use cases. And then I'd say another area that we've done a lot of investments in is around marketplaces and data. So at the end of the day, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other companies, social networks, they basically take your data, they keep it, and monetize off of it. Well, what if you can, freely share your data and make money off of it? And when data is actually contributed and consolidated and encrypted, then other companies and applications can build really neat applications and products on top of it. So these are a few of the areas that we made investments in and we think are really compelling. So another big trend that we're seeing right now is that a lot of these speculation and buying of cryptocurrency started off in the US. But in terms of investors and in terms of innovation, it's really moving over to Asia. China right now is the retail market is rampant. And so in Korea, it's the exact same thing. We're still seeing a lot more institutional investors getting involved in the space in the United States, but we think that there are certain types of companies that we do very well in Asia. For instance, they're really known for something called reverse ICO, in which existing companies see an opportunity to issue a token to fundraise, and they see it beneficial to their own company. And a lot of these companies have done very well in terms of doing their token fundraise in Asia. But we think that regulation plays a huge part in Asia, and so countries like Taiwan that have really good leadership, I think, can really create a huge blockchain hub. So guys like Jason right there are going to play a pivotal role to really, maybe bringing more innovation to Asia. So another trend that we've seen this year is that this is sort of what the stack looks like in terms of the different types of companies that we're looking at. For Pantera, we've invested everything from layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. And we started off doing a lot of layer 3 investments, because like Augur, like Origin, we think that it's going to take a long time to build these companies. Even though the underlying infrastructure is not there yet, nevertheless, to build the UI, the UX, tools around, messaging, arbitration, things like that, it's going to take a long time. So we're looking to back entrepreneurs that can build alongside what's needed in terms of scaling the ecosystem. And then, of course, I think the theme of this year is basically, we want to be able to come up with different solutions to scale blockchain technology. And whether it is new underlying blockchains that come up with different consensus mechanisms or different ways of sharding, or maybe it's layer 2 where we do off-chain scalability, different ways of routing transactions. These are all potentially hugely beneficial for the ecosystem, but at the end of the day, for any of these scalability solutions, you need to build a community. And what's the biggest community right now of all these? It's Ethereum and Vitalik. He's done a great job of building a community where basically there's lines outside the door waiting to come in to talk to him. So, that's the biggest thing for all these companies is building a community, whether you are on the first layer or whether you are on the second or third layer. I think another trend that we're seeing right now is, Asia has been very good at being innovative. And that means innovative in terms of setting up the legal structures to do different types of token sales. And then, of course, innovation in terms of exchanges. So we have traditional exchanges that have launched tokens that have served as a way to get discounted fees and fund governance. And then, of course, we get a new type of exchange called a transfer money exchange, where it's encouraging people to be very active with their trading so that they can get tokens in return for all of the activity they do. For us, we're looking at a few different themes going forward. And I'll break it down in just one simple sentence. We're looking for ways to get retail, institutions, and developers on board. And that means everything from institutions, custody products, institutional trading tools, to retail, it's going to be new consumer products, new ways to basically manage your assets. And then on the development side, SDKs and tools that easily build on top of new technologies. And something else that we're really bullish on is we think that security tokens are even pretty big. It's just going to take a lot of time for the liquidity infrastructure to emerge. On the custodian side, we're starting to see some progress there, and we believe that that's the biggest hurdle for institutional investors to come in. And Goldman Sachs, Coinbase, Northern Trust, they're starting to come up with solutions, and we'll think guys like Station and World will also come forward with solutions, and that'll be a huge occasion. Also, recently, a deal that was done by BCG, Microsoft, and Starbucks is called Bond. And it's an institutional exchange that was started by the parent company of New York Stock Exchange. And again, it's going to provide an on-ramp for people to use cryptocurrencies in retail stores, and also an institutional custody solution. And I think one last thing that I wanted to talk about is, what we really want to see in this space is more products that go live and that get people playing with it and involved with it, so you can actually tell other people about it. So one project we're really excited about is Augur. My partner at our firm, Joey Crew, launched it out a couple weeks ago. And it's just really fascinating to kind of see the types of it's a decentralized prediction market, the types of markets that are being created already, and the types of applications that are being built on top of it. So whether it's things like how do we more easily create markets, to even companies that are creating markets, at the end, we need more of these consumer applications so that people can really, have something that's tangible to talk about in terms of cryptocurrency. So that's it. I mean, I just want to say thank you so much. If you guys want to be more involved, I highly suggest, just playing around with some of these products that are out there, playing around with some of these non-fungible tokens, and really just kind of getting your feet wet with crypto stuff.
Thank you, Paul. So this is our last lightning talk. It's also one of our members, Matt Liu. Matt and I have known each other for a while. We played football together, did a bunch of other things. He was Matt was one of the first 28 employees at YouTube, I believe. And a lot of the team Origin protocols here. He's also one of our members here. We are a small investment in Origin, so thank you very much, Matt, for doing this. Thank you for Matt. And Matt went to school down the line, so the other school here, obviously. So, Origin protocol. Thank you, Steve. How's everyone doing tonight? Thank you, everyone, for coming here on short notice. We just put this event together in the past, I'd say 48, 72 hours. It was a mad scramble, but we love seeing all of you out here to support all the projects. And, of course, to watch Vitalik, founder of Ethereum, speak with Jason. So I'll give you a little bit of background about Origin, and then today we're going to talk about bridging the decentralized user experience gap for cryptocurrencies and blockchains. So again, my name is Matthew Liu. I'm one of the co-founders of Origin Protocol. At Origin Protocol, we are building a platform that will enable many different decentralized marketplaces to be built on the Ethereum blockchain and IPFS. So what we imagine for the future is that you will have a decentralized version of Craigslist, a decentralized version of Airbnb, Uber, all their international equivalents, as well as many other different types of two-sided marketplaces where buyers and sellers can meet peer-to-peer, transact directly without the middleman. We're doing this for a couple of key reasons. One, we believe we can lower transaction fees between buyers and sellers, helping them save money. Two, we want to reduce censorship. We want to promote free and open commerce all over the world. Three, we believe crypto economic incentives are a fantastic way to bootstrap networks and give back to early participants. Those first 100 Uber drivers, those first 100 Airbnb hosts, they don't really get anything. In the new world, in the decentralized world of Origin marketplaces, they can actually have a stake in the network, and for the work that they do, they can actually have a financial benefit. Lastly, there are 2 billion people that are unbanked in the world right now. They have no credit cards, they have no checking accounts. They're still transacting via fiat currencies or bartering in some cases. We believe that digital cryptocurrencies, as well as new digital marketplaces that are decentralized, will give them the opportunity to buy, share, and trade with each other for the very, very first time. So, Mr. Vitalik here in December 2017 famously tweeted, so total crypto coin market cap just hit 0.5 trillion today. That's 500 billion in market cap. But how have we earned it? So I guess I'm asking everyone in the crowd here, do we think we've earned it? And I would posit that we have not yet quite earned it. Market caps have dropped quite a bit, but there's still a lot of catching up that we have to do as an industry. Cryptocurrencies and blockchain are not yet mainstream. We're starting to solve some problems. It's getting the world's attention, but we have not actually leaped over the mainstream use cases. We have not built dApps that people are using. We have not solved some of the core problems that blockchain and cryptocurrency have been promised to solve in the past few years. Now, why is that? There's a number of reasons, and so the rest of this talk, I'm going to present some of the main challenges of us going mainstream, and then early innovations, early attempts at how we solve these problems. They're not necessarily going to solve everything in one day or 6 months or even a year, but they're early attempts at how we can start making the world a better place and start using blockchain and cryptocurrency technology to bridge the gap and go mainstream. So the first issue that I think a lot of people have talked about ad nauseum this year is the scalability issue. And so again, Vitalik has put out a lot of thoughts here about the blockchain trilemma. So decentralization, scalability, and security are kind of this triumvirate that are a little bit at odds. It's really, really hard to achieve all three simultaneously, and we have definitely not done that today. So there are scalability challenges with Ethereum, low TPS, but it's highly decentralized, it's highly secure. How do we actually move to the world where Ethereum and or other blockchains can maintain that same decentralization, that same security, but then become more scalable? And in fact, if we do not have blockchains and other decentralized technology that is scalable, dApps will not be able to exist. dApps need higher TPS. If you look at something like Facebook, if you look at even basic applications like Airbnb, they can handle a ton of transactions every second. And as they scale, that is an absolute necessity. Speed is king, right? Speed is a feature. And right now, blockchains cannot handle that. So what are some exciting innovations that are hopefully going to solve this in the next 12, 18, and 24 months? Let's first turn towards Ethereum itself. So there are three major scalability initiatives within Ethereum. There's Plasma. Notably, the Oasis team is working on Plasma Cash. Very, very, very interesting project. And we're following it very closely with that team. There's sharding of data on the blockchain, and there's state channels. So the Ethereum core team is working on a lot of these initiatives to actually help the blockchain scale, increase TPS, and also consequently lower gas costs. Of course, we also have other alternative solutions, some of which are represented in this room. So we heard from Don Song earlier about Oasis Labs, working on a blockchain solution that's compatible with Ethereum PVM, which allows other projects to build and port over their code, but it is a little more centralized. We have our friends from Solana, who are some of the sponsors here. Thank you very much. Working on a new proof of history method. Of course, we have a lot of other alternative blockchains and solutions. Some of them are regionally based, but right now we're still dealing with this blockchain dilemma. Progress is being made across many, many different fronts, but we still have quite a bit of work to do. Here's another second problem, pretty major problem, is that few coins and tokens are actually being used for their intended purposes. So currency volatility encourages speculative trading. There's some long-term hodling, but a lot of it is short-term swing trades. A lot of these tokens that are created are not being used in the way that they were intended as utility tokens to power the different types of networks. This is actually a problem, right? This is a problem in many, many different cases because over the long term, we're not going to be able to sustain these valuations, which is very utility. And as a side effect of this volatility, people don't want to actually spend tokens. So monetary velocity is often very low, and these tokens end up being speculative assets rather than true utility tokens. What are some of the solutions that can address currency volatility? So I want to point out that there's multiple attempts across different avenues right now. In general, we call this category stablecoins, and it's one of the areas that I'm most personally fascinated in. I truly believe that stablecoins are going to be necessary for users all across the world to use dApps. If volatility is so high, no one is actually going to be able to transact in the way that they're familiar with. And users right now are familiar with US dollars, Japanese yen, Korean won, Chinese RMB, whatever it might be. And so we need to have these equivalents on the blockchain in order for users to be able to get the work done that they want to do. So there's several methods here. So there's collateral-backed IOUs. For example, friends here at Trust Token have released TrueUSD. It's a one-to-one reserve backing of the US dollar. And so now you can take Trust tokens and use them almost as US dollars across exchanges and in the future across many dApps. There's other earlier attempts such as MakerDAI, that's collateral-backed on-chain with Ethereum. I'm not going to pronounce that word, even though I tried to 5 times today, but we have Basis and Terra in that category, but dealing with bond-like instruments. And then we have other creative approaches too. My good friend Evan Kuo, CEO of Fragments, is working on a game theoretic, low volatility, not quite stable coin, but in that category. And there's just a lot of work going on here. It's not yet clear what will be the dominant stable coin or if there will be multiple ones, but it's a very, very fascinating industry. It's a very, very necessary one. But before I continue, I want to say the stablecoin that I am personally most bullish on is the WTF coin, the World Trade Fund that Vitalik announced last year in April. Everyone needs to get some of this. If you don't know what it is, Google it. You should know what it is. This is going to change the world economy. All right, problem number 3. It is very hard to compete with free apps. The current centralized application, many people sign up for free. They press some buttons, they tap some things on their iPhone or Android, and magic happens. You can call a car, you can Uber, you can book a house to your Airbnb, you can talk to your friends, you can upload your photos. Guess what? On the blockchain, each of these transactions, even if you're not needing to send money from wallet A to wallet B, requires gas. Gas is a user friction. All the other blockchains largely have this concept as well. If it's not gas, it's something else. But this is a user friction that right now has not quite been solved. Gas means that there's cognitive load when users use gas. You have to think about whether or not they want to press every single button to get a user interaction. In addition to that, if you don't have Ethereum, or if you don't have Neo, or if you don't have whatever it is, you may not actually be able to have an early onboarding experience as a user. And this is extremely problematic for the world of decentralized applications. All right, what are some of the solutions here? Guess what? We didn't really see that many out there, so the team at Origin is starting to work on some of this. So I want to call out UPAM. UPAM is the first engineer at YouTube. He was also one of the co-founders of PayPal. Now he leads R&D efforts at Origin. And so one of his things that he's focusing on is user adoption. How do we actually bridge the gap to the mainstream? And so he's come up with this new innovative solution that we're kind of pre-announcing right now, called the no gas solution. There's been some discussion about this, but as far as I understand, this is the first time that someone's actually prototyped it and built out a demo. So what does no gas really mean? Well, users don't want to pay gas for minor user experience interactions. Sure, they're willing to pay gas as a transaction fee if I'm sending Ethereum to Craig, or I'm sending Ethereum to Vivian, but when they are just tapping some buttons to upload a photo, they don't want to spend gas. So what can we as ecosystem creators and innovators do to solve this problem? Well, the no gas solution is an early prototype of how we can actually pay for the gas of all the mainstream users that don't quite yet understand cryptocurrency. This is a blob of code that I am just starting to understand, but UPAM understands much better. The general concept is, let's take a smart contract. Let's declare certain functions of that smart contract as sponsorable. What does that mean? We put it through a processor that takes a smart contract and says that there are certain function calls for the smart contract that allow a user to have someone else pay for the gas. So these sponsors. Imagine a case now where I'm a user uploading a photo. I don't want to pay for uploading a photo to the app. So what I would do is I would potentially use a mobile application, tap on the button, upload a photo, and in the background, what really happens is that I would broadcast to the sponsor network, and in this case, the sponsor is most likely the app creator because they want to incentivize me to use the application. And that app creator will actually pay for my gas. And so we started prototyping this in the Origin Marketplace demo where users can actually interact throughout the application without having to hit MetaMask 10 times, pressing submit, or using a mobile wallet and verifying every single transaction. We can actually allow other people to pay for that gas. And this makes sense. If you look at the traditional world, you look at how traditional applications are built, there are API keys. There are social apps using Google Maps, or they're using Facebook API, or they're using some paid API service. And all these calls, they cost a minute amount of money, but it's usually application developers that sponsor this because they're working with the actual API creators, whether it's Google, Facebook, whatever it might be. And so the end user doesn't end up paying for this. It's already being sponsored in the traditional world. We can try the same paradigm in the decentralized world. I think it will make a very, very, very big difference for user adoption. Almost there, and then we'll bring it to the main event. Fourth problem here, wallets are very difficult to use compared to traditional user accounts right now. People are familiar with email addresses, phone numbers, resetting passwords, but in the Ethereum world, in the rest of the blockchain world, the public and private key. And hey, what is my private key? Is that my password? Should I send that to someone? How do I reset my password? I lost my private key. Crap, I don't have funds now. So these user paradigms are understood very much by people in this circle and have been working with cryptocurrencies and blockchain for a while. But the mainstream, the other 99.8 or 99.9%, they don't understand this concept. They don't understand how to interact with other wallets. They don't understand how to trust each other. There's no real concept of identity baked into identity blockchain chat. This is an area that we need to overcome as well in order to get real user adoption. So again, at Oregon, we've been trying to look at other solutions, and we ran into this problem. So we decided to actually innovate. So there's this Ethereum standard called ERC 725, proposed by Fabian of the Ethereum core team. He's also the creator of ERC 20, the MIST browser Web3, and he came up with a standard that allows you to attach your identity to a smart contract that allows third-party attestation providers to test on your behalf. So now you will have an identity that is sovereign, portable, and easy to use. I'm going to skip these slides because we're a little bit short on time. But essentially, I just want to wrap up and say there's a lot of work that we as an industry have to do. Everyone in this room that's interested, whether as an engineer, an investor, a hobbyist, this is a movement that we are all trying to create together. But we all need to be conscious of where we are. There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of really smart people, and a ton of money in the space. We're still in the first inning. There's a lot of work to do, and I hope that everyone here is motivated and enthusiastic about the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that we can do incredible work, do highly reputable work, to actually make a difference in the world. Now, if you or your crypto kitties or your unicorns have any questions, want to learn about Origin as a platform or any of the user experience, infrastructure, technology, solutions that I propose, feel free to contact me. We have a lot of Origin folks at this event tonight, but matt@originprotocol.com is my email. My Telegram is matt.luke. Thank you guys very much. And now I will get out of the way for the main events. The real reason that everyone is here, Mr. Jason Su, of course, at the top.
Good job, Matt. Good job.
All right. First of all, thank you all for staying. If you haven't checked out today's drink menu, it's pretty special. Thanks to Steve and his amazing F&B team. Big shout out to our I guess specialist fellow. It's great to everyone. We have actually Vitalik's amazing unicorn. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's one of our special drinks tonight. And also the crypto Congressman. I tried it several times and now I'm pretty much drunk. And then the owl bucket chin. So if you haven't tried out these drinks, try it. So I guess I just want to have a really kind of solid conversation with Vitalik. Every time I meet him, it's always very short. I actually brought him to meet our Prime Minister and the Central Bank Chairman and our FSC Chairman, all in the same room. And Vitalik being an avid learner of Chinese, he's actually able to speak Chinese language to our Prime Minister. So let's give him a round of applause for doing that. And I guess my first question to you is, what do you hope to see from the blockchain space before the end of 2019? Can someone hand the microphone?
So I think one of probably the biggest elephant in the room in blockchain space at this point that I keep repeating is a very high ratio of hype to actual use cases. So basically, outside of cryptocurrency and even including cryptocurrency, the amount of actual kind of sustainable, productive usage of blockchain is realistically still fairly low. right? Like, it definitely exists. Like, there's definitely a lot of people, including myself, who gain value from things like cryptocurrencies that we would not be able to get otherwise. And there's definitely a few people starting to use other blockchain applications, like even the various decentralized Twitters have users and so forth. But just the amount of actually useful stuff happening is still much lower than the $200 billion market cap we can see, right? And so the main challenge for the industry, as I see it, is basically how do we bridge that gap and get to the point where there is $200 million in some sense of actual final value being generated for people that like these crazy market caps and things. And I think if we basically two problems that need to be solved, right? Like one of them is actually coming up with users. And the second, also a very important one, is improving the underlying technology itself to the point where it's actually ready for use, right? Like today, for example, transaction fees spike up and down anywhere from 2 cents to $2, which may be okay for like large international payments, but it's definitely not the sort of thing that people would be willing to accept for like Twitter on the blockchain or whatever. The state of privacy on the blockchain. Right now, everything you shove onto the blockchain is completely public. There are really good ways to use the blockchain while preserving privacy. And there are a lot of really good research efforts that are starting to happen to try to solve that problem. Like, for example, Zcash has been making a lot of progress recently. There's been research on top of Ethereum. There's been like ring signature-based mixers or based snark use cases and other things. But there's still quite a bit of a way to go. Another third really big category is user experience, and particularly user experience and user-side security. So basically, how do people, like regular people, use wallets in a way where it's easy to use and where it's not easy to screw up? And I think that's still something where we've probably made a lot less progress than we've wanted to make over the last couple of years, and something where the entire industry really needs to pick up.
Yeah. Also, just to echo from Vitalik, I am a technologist turned legislator. So what I'd like to see in this space before the end of 2019 is governments and the regulators and lawmakers actually employ a open-minded mindset towards cryptocurrency and try to understand it from the social economic value rather than it from sort of a binary value, either good or bad. I believe that blockchain is really the third wave of internet infrastructure. When internet was created 30 years ago by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, he was initially in an open, just, fair space for information sharing. But today's internet was sort of controlled by 5 giant companies. All the data and all the security leaks, and we've seen what happened with Cambridge Analytica. And so I believe blockchain is actually given humanity a second chance to get this right. So I guess the next question would be, there's always been a big fear, I guess, from the industry and also from the government and also from the regulators. It seems that there are always these two types of people on the two sides of the bridge. So what would the blockchain community like to see from regulators or crypto congressmen like me?
Sure. And so I think there's basically 2 categories of answers to that, right? One is kind of regulation that's friendly to cryptocurrency use cases actually being deployed and like blockchain being deployed and actually being usable and useful for people. So, for example, like I did make a tweet about here recently about how I thought the emphasis on getting people to be permissive to ETFs is like completely wrong-headed, because like while I'm sure it's great to make it easier for like people to do things that like put money in cryptocurrency if that's what they really want to, but at the same time, like the ratio of speculative interest to actual adoption is just so high that it's just totally the wrong area to focus. And the kind of regulatory openness that would be, I think, more useful is like number one, making it easier for people to just go in, like sell small amounts of cryptocurrency in corner stores. Like I want to be able to walk into a Family Mart or 7-Eleven and just get a card, pay $5 and get like $5 minus some small alternative like Bitcoin Cash, USD Cash, or whatever, and start using it. Now I think that's valuable both because like for kind of use cases of cryptocurrency, but also particularly for use cases of blockchains where the point of the use case is beyond just cryptocurrency, right? Because even the non-financial blockchain use cases ultimately still require you to pay transaction fees because that's how the network prevents spam. And like even if you're $1 away from having enough cryptocurrency to send a transaction, that's still a very long distance. But if we can get the friction down to, oh, you can solve that with one trip to a convenience store, then that's already considerably simpler. And even like getting smaller amounts of cryptocurrency over the internet in various ways. So just like reducing that side of friction. Obviously, another kind of fairly important area is kind of all of these like blockchain project fundraising and ideas as a general category. And like obviously everyone talks about ICOs, but I think like ICOs are at this point kind of boring and overdone. And although like the regulatory responses to them have honestly kind of mixed effects. Like for example, I'm really happy that you have the SEC really have this censor on all these other projects. And at the same time, like these rules that say, oh, well, you actually get a lot less regulatory burden if you only accept investment from millionaires and VC funds is like incredibly counterproductive because it basically makes it easier to justify creating these incredibly volatile projects where millionaires and VCs get in at round one. And like that picture that's been circling around internet meme land with kangaroos on top of each other and like regular before and I think that we as a community really do need to come work together and come up with ways of doing the project and launching support there. And I do think that regulators have a role to play in more realistic to this stuff and less to things that are not just
yeah, I think the usability and also the solid knowledge of understanding this industry and trend. I also wanted just to share a little bit about what we're doing in Taiwan. As I said, I'm a technology entrepreneur and I've become a legislator. So my goal is to remove legal barriers for technology and innovation. So what we are doing in Taiwan is actually positioning Taiwan as a blockchain island and crypto nation. In order to achieve that, we are having a set of policy programs and regulatory guidelines being rolled out in the second half of 2019. We're coming out with a blockchain cluster, and this is a special economic zone set up within the New Taipei city for blockchain projects to make experiments. And for example, on the medical data space, on the IoT space, on the digital identity space, if all of you are doing projects in this area, so we'll be happy to talk to you. And we have a goal of bringing 200 global blockchain companies to be based in Taiwan. And Taiwan's engineering talent is the world's top leading. Ethereum also employs a few engineers in Taiwan. And secondly, we are flexible and nimble. So our regulations, we have what we call a light touch approach. That is that we don't legislate too early, we don't regulate too early. What we like to do is for our government to evolve and to learn as the technology evolves and industry grows. So it's super important that we keep this open-minded mindset. So within the parliament, I set up parliamentary coalition for blockchain to bring legislators on both aisles to steer the development of this industry, and also I launched self-regulatory organization to work with the government to combat the money laundering and the fraud and also negative ICO actors. And also I think one of the things I'm super interested to ask Vitalik is a lot of people are thinking about how come it's been years after the release of Ethereum, yet we still don't have any major DApps on Ethereum? What will it take for Ethereum to see DApps actually have a significant number of users?
So first of all, like as I've said before, this is not about Ethereum. It's about like all the entire blockchain and cryptocurrency space. There is just very little actual usage so far. And I think part of the reason is that people are still searching for use cases, but at the same time, the search for use cases by itself is made harder by the fact that it is like the current state of blockchain technology makes it difficult to actually offer something that people will be able to start using and experimenting on. And so I think like the improvements in scalability that I'm trying to work on with sharding and plasma sync channels, improvements in privacy, improvements in user experience, and like all these things. If those problems are like the barriers to actually building applications people to use and decrease their time.
So next, I also wanted to talk about centralized versus decentralized. This year, 2018, is actually the 10th year anniversary of Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper, and it's nothing short of monumental. But I think one of the questions we ought to ask ourselves in this community is, do we live up to this expectation of truly a decentralized world? So what my question to you, Vitalik, is, do you feel that this space, too much resource is concentrated on a hands of a few? And then I talk about when the internet was created 3 years ago, and could we be seeing blockchain going down that path or being too centralized? What was some of your biggest fear?
Sure. So I think, like, first of all, the emphasis here isn't like we're obviously connected, but the emphasis isn't resources being in the hands of a few. Instead, power and influence being in the hands of a few. And specifically, like in my opinion, power and influence in the hands of a few that just have not shown themselves to be capable of deserving that. And one example of this is all the massive exchange hacks that we've seen over the last 10 years. I ran the numbers at one point about a year ago, and like basically, if you deposit your points into exchanges, then on average you'll be losing like probabilistically speaking something like 3 or 4% every year. So people complain about like central banks having negative 0.25% interest rates. Well, this is what like our central banks in the crypto space offer right now. There's also like in the exchange space specifically, there's a lot of non-transparency in how exchanges decide which ones they list. And personally, I think just the mere fact that people who watch cryptocurrency prices care more about whether or not something will be listed on Coinbase or Binance or Bitfinex or whatever, than they do about technical updates. It's just honestly a hard thing. Like the fact that these centralized entities have that much power to cause individual cryptocurrencies prices to go up by a factor of 1.5, 2, 3, whatever is just crazy. And these exchanges are often charging multi-million-dollar listing fees. There's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I don't even know about. On the mining and mining pool side, so there's a recent statistic that something like 15 to 30% of Bitcoin's hash power was contributed. And the number doesn't probably jump up over time, but like basically we're at the stage where one single actor has the ability to coordinate enough to like basically definitely start self-defining that and possibly even do a consumer percent. And I go out on Twitter and I ask, well, what do people who believe in decentralization think about this? And the answer is, oh, well, sure, there's one actor that has the power to do a lot of damage, but see, they're incentivized. If the active ways that break the system, then they're going to destroy their own resources. Okay, that seems like a kind of legit security model, but there's one problem. That is the exact same security model as PayPal. That's the exact same security model as the debt of any country. It's the exact same security model as centralized fiat currency. So when people start going back to this argument that, oh, it's secure because one particular actor is incentivized theoretically, then we really are making much more progress than I think we all wanted to do. So, like, in terms of how we actually solve these problems, I think, first of all, there's the obvious answer that some centralized actors can kind of counterbalance the power of other centralized actors. And, that includes regulators, that includes, some large corporations coming in from the outside and competing with existing players in the money and exchange space. That includes these different participants competing with each other more. Another important thing, I think, is just increasing the decentralization to the point where, like, even if centralized services would have a large and used for efficiency reasons, at least reduce their power by increasing the usability of the next available alternatives, right? Like, centralized exchanges would not have as much of an ability to affect the price of a cryptocurrency by listing it if decentralized exchanges that just seamlessly ran on the blockchain were like 3/4 as good, and quite a few people use that. If a blockchain used, say, proof of stake, and proof of stake ended up being more decentralized than proof of work, then that by itself is another improvement, right? If we did come up with proof of stake algorithms that are even more decentralized than others, then we can try to improve things further. Right? So I think both on layer 1 and on layer 2, there's a lot of opportunity to optimize protocols to try to guard ourselves against things like that. Another, I think one reason why I kind of care about this is because I feel like the role of the crypto space ultimately as a society, in the world at large, is to try to create meaningful alternatives for human collaboration to existing status quo centralized actors. And if the cryptocurrency space is unable to solve those problems inside of itself, then what right does it have to try to suggest those solutions?
I think we can give up a real pause for this answer. Pretty amazing. Yeah. I think what Vitalik has said is actually really, I think, some of the most, deepest concern of the people who truly care about the space. And I think we've seen a lot of greed, speculation, skepticism, and I think the lack of education in this space. I think it's super important that Vitalik share this words to the community. So I wanted to ask, just kind of build on that. As a community is focused on projects that are years from delivery, how do you think we can incentivize and make actual impact in places that need crypto? There are people, countries like Venezuela and the governments like authoritarian regime kind of exploit cryptocurrency for their own gain. So how do we prevent this tool become a tool of evil?
Sure. So I am actually kind of less worried about blockchains becoming a tool of centralized actors using them for evil than other people. And the reason for this is that, first of all, yes, it would definitely be very tragic if, say, some governments like Venezuela were to use a blockchain registry to keep track of everything done by all of their citizens and use it some kind of permanent power, right? But at the same time, I question the extent to which a blockchain would be practically more useful to them for accomplishing that goal than a more simple centralized and decentralized system, right? Basically, the problem is blockchains fundamentally what they do is they solve the problem of how do you create a system which is secure in the absence of some authority that you trust. And the authoritarian government, by definition, trusts itself. So basically for any of the, I think in all these, I know it definitely is the case that a lot of, pretty much everyone is reading and saying positive things about blockchain technology and how blockchain technology can be used to create registries and so forth. But if the people involved don't care about decentralization, then ultimately the incentives are a just solution based on a couple of one computer or a couple of computers talking to each other. and they would have been able to do this with or without blockchain technology. And that's something that, that's something that's going to happen already, right? And it's the role of the blockchain space to basically try to create alternatives. So, I mean, to answer the question of like how blockchain-based things can be useful now, I think, first of all, we have to be realistic. Right? And first of all, like, number one, yes, blockchains have high pieces of usability stuff and so forth. And yes, the only app that has like a long track record is cryptocurrency. But so what that does mean is that yes, in the short term, the main way say blockchains can be useful in Venezuela is by creating a conduit by which they can like basically store the money either in cryptocurrencies or use it as a channel to get the money into financial systems based in stable development countries or potentially. But in the as the technology improves, we can try to work in that, right? So for example, I think in the short term user experience is not important. Also, we need to be when we communicate to people who are using blockchains, especially for kind of high value, high risk, like the dev use case, like keeping your money safe in your accounts. We only have to be honest about what notifications are at. So for example, privacy of cryptocurrency is general sucks. And we need to be honest about that. And at the same time, we also need to continue supporting all of the great technical efforts that are happening to make sure that's not going to be a problem as quickly as possible. And so we need improvements to scale. We're working on, and we as a Ethereum Foundation, we as a multiple teams of the Ethereum Foundation providing grants to, and as a many teams not Ethereum Foundation are working on ways to try to solve these problems. And over time, we will have more privacy, we will have more user experience, we will have more user experience of preserving privacy, we will have better user experience of preserving safety, and over time, things will improve. And like basically, we just have to keep on continuing to understand what is possible technologically at the present time and try to push it forward as quickly but also safely as possible.
And are you satisfied with the current progress of the development? And if not, what is stopping you? And what's the current status of Plasma and Sharding?
Sure. I mean, realistically, there are things I'm satisfied with, there are things I'm not satisfied with. So probably the things that I'm happiest about are, number one, Plasma is moving along quickly. There's multiple versions of Plasma that have already released something. Like the Loom Network released something very recently. I know there's a couple of others. The Liquidity Network has an alpha here, so a lot of other things that are coming fairly soon. On the state channel side, once again, there's the general purpose state channel frameworks coming from Google Health 4 that are going to be released fairly soon. So on the layer 2 side, I'm impressed. On the base level proof of stake and sharding side, it'll be the first one, and it's been happening more slowly than I expected. But the flip side of that is that I feel it was so much better than I expected, right? I think in the kind of hype cycle of 2018, we see a lot of projects saying things like, oh, look, we have this fancy algorithm, we have an academic paper, we are provably secure. Oh, provably secure under what security assumptions? Oh, we're certificates on this. Well, guess what? Ethereum doesn't need certificates on this anymore. We have one model of security and we have one model of one half on this. We have models to ensure incentive alignment to the majority. This obviously is starting to do research into majority. This one is consensus more and more, looking at scalable data, client-side data availability and preface verification. So looking at optimizing stability properties, looking at getting to higher levels of consensus and safety more quickly, including definitions. So it's I think a lot of people also don't realize that while the research has been progressing, there really are a lot of nice properties that have been sort of tacked on in many cases without really increasing the complexity. Right? So, like time-wise, it's definitely slower than expected, but product-wise and like properties of the solution-wise, I think it's much better than what I imagined it would possibly be 4 or 5 years ago. Like I am seriously looking forward to the cryptocurrency community basically passing over the proof of work.
That's great, and we're super happy to hear that from the ones too. And I just wanted to say that we have great engineers in Taiwan, and the Ethereum Foundation also employs several of them and doing hard work. And they're actually doing a lot of educational videos, helping the Buterin Foundation. So for all of you want to hire engineers, Taiwan is the place. Thank you. So next question is, this is a funny one. There are rumors that a few months ago that Google was trying to hire you. I take it you're in town for your job interview?
Okay, so people do realize that was a joke, right? So basically, like some random HR person thought I have no idea who Google just emailed me.
Really? Then they don't know you.
Yeah, I mean, they probably emailed me because some like machine learning algorithm analyzed my data, saw that I had some high score in the National Olympiad in informatics and whatever. We're like, oh, cool, this guy would probably, it's a group corporate. He's a great candidate. Let's hire him and pay your intern salary of $55,000. And I'm like, I'll just retweet that to live.
No, that's good. My next question is, what are your thoughts on security token trend? And what would having a security issue on blockchain actually be beneficial versus traditional methods?
I definitely think there are benefits from putting like both securities and digital assets on the blockchain. I feel like the term security token feels more like kind of marketing branding than substance because like ultimately what we're talking about is a token that represents real world claims. And there's real world claims to any kinds of things. Like we can talk about legal claims to companies, we can talk about claims to digital assets, we can talk about claims to fiat currencies. And these are all kind of fairly similar to each other and they're essentially the same term category. Right? So I do think that category is fundamentally useful. I do think there's a lot of value that comes from financial assets being based on the blockchain and you have this common layer where people can build applications that interact with all these assets and all the assets and all the interactions are kind of intertwined with each other. Like I just love the idea that if someone makes a payment app and that payment app is ERC-20 compliant, then I think that payment app should be able to allow you to just pay with Facebook stock and Starbucks. And if we can get to that point where like basically assets are as kind of generalized and homogenized as possible, or even strategy as possible. So we get to the future where basically anyone can pay anything, anyone can receive anything, and we have some decentralized combinatorial exchange in the middle. And that'll just allow us to both increase efficiency and disintermediate execution of things, and then really kind of greatly increase the scope of the kinds of financial accessibility, the kinds of platforms and applications people can use, the ability of these assets to reach different parts of the world without having much financial infrastructure and so forth.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to also briefly mention how I stumbled upon cryptocurrency and blockchain, and then using this to lead to my next set of questions. So September 4th, 2017, I remember this day, the day that China banned ICO. And it was also the same day that I realized that a lot of these projects are coming to Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. And during that same week, I held a public hearing with our country's prime minister, and then openly asked for this lenient approach on cryptocurrency, and basically asked the regulatory bodies to take a light touch approach on cryptocurrency and blockchain. What I care as a lawmaker and as a legislator and a technologist is not so much on the profit making side. And actually, I envision a new world, and I think about the accountability and transparency and efficiency. So I think about a few things that I'm doing in Taiwan. One is that I am building a campaign election platform on blockchain. So all the campaign expenses that I do will be reported on blockchain and also receive political donations on blockchain. So every single dollar, every single penny that is donated to my campaign can be traceable and it can be held accountable to all the users, to all the constituencies. And I wanted to say that I guess my question is, this is what Ethereum means to me, and this is what blockchain means to me as a public servant and as an elected official. And I want to ask, as a creator of Ethereum, why is Ethereum important to you and to the world?
Sure. I think ultimately, like blockchains in general were created like in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. Yeah, there's a famous engraving in Satoshi Genesis blog of the chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. And I think a lot of the kind of discourse we've had in the last decade, I mean, it's definitely kind of sort of changed a lot in many different ways. But what we're seeing over the last 2 years is kind of a public distrust of the financial industry, but basically that's similar at the same time also turning toward kind of decentralized tech as well, right? And I think people are realizing that we are in this environment where there's like the internet is originally thought to be this kind of big way to democratize everyone else. To some extent has done that, but also at the same time in other ways it has created this world where there's basically 5 or 6 keys at the internet. And these basically have this huge amount of power, often more power than the actual governments. And in some cases they are so, to just decide what people see, to kind of unaccountably influence people's political opinions, they're creating platforms where they're just fundamentally not designed for the reality of the world, where there's still actors that are looking to kind of basically attack systems for open discussion and we're seeing that road has kind of led towards some kind of and where I see kind of blockchains and cryptography in general is basically giving humanity an alternative to basically institutional centralized trust, and giving them an alternative that at the same time it still gives people the benefits of being open source. Right? So one of the examples that I actually often use a lot is my run a company in Taiwan, which is like Bitcoin slash NFT from LSU. And what they're trying to do is they're basically building payments, kind of a semi-decentralized payment system, which different banks in Taiwan will be able to pay into, where they'll be payments from one platform will be able to interoperate with another platform. And what that gives you is it basically gives you the ability to have a payment system and have the network effect benefits of like having something like WeChat and without the costs of having one person. And I think that's at least trying that kind of model, and both in the financial industry and also in areas of content creation, for various kinds of for social media, for various kinds of economic services, things like insurance, even things like organizing political discourse, and various kinds of audience. I think all of those things are ideas that are related to the
So I wrote in my Medium blog that I envisioned actually come up with 60 areas that I would like to see blockchain implementations, going from medical data to agriculture to food safety to academic to identities and etc. What we're enabling in Taiwan is we're enabling micro experiments that for companies that are doing interesting stuff, to be experimented in the sandbox. So one of the big projects that we are doing there is actually issuing a national digital currency. We're now taking a portion of our foreign reserve, which is counted for 70 billion, to take a portion of that, and we are actually thinking about using Ethereum to issue a digital currency and using smart contract, not for retail purpose, but for the trade finance, because 90% of Taiwan's economy is export driven, as we're thinking about using that as an alternative as opposed to the US dollars. So I really think that Taiwan is, being an ambiguous state as it is, it fits in so well with blockchain and cryptocurrency. So it's so cool that Vitalik is able to share this, and I think we're all here have a real blessing of working together. Well, I guess my next question would be, what is your most controversial belief? What is something that you believe that most people in this room probably do not? Maybe someone can tell the crowd there to be quiet, to get affected, like very politely of what's going on there. All of you here are invited, but I think all of you need to respect the speakers and the audience here. We're trying to listen, okay? We're trying to have a conversation.
Love you, Vitalik. I know. That's an interesting one. I need to think about it for a minute. I see. All eyes are on me to say something. I don't have to word it out.
Everybody's putting on their Twitter account now. This is what to say.
For the next 5 days.
Or let's move to the next, and we'll come back to it. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you guys can tweet, and then maybe Charlie can pick up one of your tweets. I guess one of the questions I think is quite interesting from the list here is there's a recent emergence of assassin smart contract on order. How do you think we can help tackle those criminal activities like that?
Sure. So the simplest thing to do is, first of all, if you hold rep, so if you hold Auger's token, and if you get called upon to vote on one of these assassination markets, then Auger features an option by which you can basically vote that some market is unethical. And if you do that, then that basically, if the majority of people do that, then that basically causes the market to fail to resolve, and it makes Auger useful for these kinds of applications. So if you hold rep, then you should know that you have this option, and you should keep this in mind, right? So that's one thing, but obviously I think kind of going off into the future, there are going to be decentralized applications more generally that do things that the great majority of people, even in the crypto space, that strongly disagree with them. And not all of them are going to have these kind of nicely implemented and explicit escape hatches, like people can vote and say, market is bad, but want to improve it. So I think first of all, most of those kinds of applications, they are fragile in one particular sense, which is most of those applications need to have some link, some way of getting information from the outside world. And the problem of getting information from the outside world, this kind of oracle problem, is actually a problem that's hard, and it's a problem where it actually is difficult to get reliable data, right? And so any possible way by which an application could get data about the outside world can potentially be tricked and potentially be attacked, right? So ultimately, whoever is feeding the data in could potentially feed in false data. Anyone who is reporting data could end up reporting false data. So I do think that, realistically speaking, if these applications actually end up getting anywhere, then obviously, aside from trying to kind of track down people who are participating in the applications. The other way that society has to make them less useful is to basically have kind of societies and institutions and education tradition kind of coordinate on these ethics norms and basically say if the result is that some unethical market or deal or whatever fails to work, then it's okay to lie. It's okay to basically give whatever answers you want if you need to, at least temporarily, in order to cause a system to And that's something that I think is going to actually be effective on a fairly large category of them. Another thing I think that's important is that for these types of applications, like most of them, like a lot of them kind of depends on both reputation and marketing to a greater degree than people who attend something. And like basically I think people should just, to a maximum extent, like refuse to market them, refuse to participate in the community, refuse to be part of their kind of level of trust. And because like ultimately these applications do depend fairly heavily on this kind of large web of services, including things like developers, formal verification people, user experience designers, and so on and so forth. And if your project is one that like 99% of people in the world need, then you're just going to actually have a fairly hard time finding a team, right? And when you do find a team, you'll notice that half your team ends up being law enforcement agents, and all your team ends up being profit-seeking, as software to treat you like a best opportunity, because that's what you are as well. So, like, I do think the underlying blockchain, because, like, we tried that once, and it ended up being a very huge cost as well to the Ethereum community. And so that's something where, like, if that starts happening more, then like basically blockchains will just become unusable fairly quickly. But no, between trying to attack the applications and between kind of traditional law enforcement tools of attacking people who participate in these applications who are careless, which actually happens a lot of the time, you can actually get here.
I just have one more question to Vitalik, and maybe we'll have time to open the floor for the audience so to ask you a few questions. My last question is really about the government or the governance of the community. As a lawmaker and a legislator, I think a lot about what would be the yardstick that we should hold to make sure that users' data and security is protected and the integrity of the ecosystem is encouraged, and how do we ensure that government is always top down, but how do we ensure that this is still community driven? I see a lot of governments trying to get into the space. Government trying to issue their own digital currencies, and for example, Venezuela and some other countries, and also trying to regulate. But what are some of the most important advices that you give to governments, thinking about the space, the regulators, the lawmakers, and what are some of the missing pieces that are needed in today's blockchain development?
Sure. So one of them is also think about what services you can provide to be useful to the blockchain space. So one very simple one is just designing national ID cards in such a way that you can use them to sign digital signatures. Ideally, SEC-256K1 compatible, but that's kind of shooting for the moon. The other example would be like very far-fetched, obviously, some kind of state-issued cryptocurrency. And like I do think that state-issued cryptocurrencies can be an interesting way for kind of smaller countries to put themselves on the map and basically have some kind of give them a kind of more proportional way to project some kind of economic power in global economy, essentially. Also, I was on the regulatory side. I think I mentioned that cryptocurrency exchanging, project fundraising, and so forth. There's kind of being friendly to that in the right way, I think is something that's very important. Encouraging a strong academic ecosystem. Since people want me to say something controversial, one thing I will say is that there was a slide I saw 2 presentations ago about how Asia is innovative, and the things that I saw there are basically like, number one, like basically three exchanges coming up with tools that help people speculate better, and 3 other exchanges coming up with weird coin mechanisms, one of which basically was a $10 million bounty for people to spam the Ethereum blockchain. And no, that's not the innovation you want to be promoting. The kind of Asian innovation that's legitimately great is, number one, the researchers we have in Taiwan. Number 2, people like Oasis, which is based in Thailand, working on plasma. Number 3, the work that projects like Kyber and Zilliqa are doing in places like Vietnam and Singapore. Number 4, the original idea from Randao came from someone in China. Number 5, there's I believe the project of Reality Key has its developers based in Japan, right? Those kinds of things are legitimately interesting for currency innovation. Tools that weird new financial schemes that incentivize people to come up with ways to get people to spend more and trade more on some exchange that's already making multi-billion-dollar profits. No, that's not the same that the thing you need any more of. And so I think trying to support people both inside of academic institutions and inside of companies and just independent researchers and developers who are interested in participating in the ecosystem, and is I think something that actually is very valuable. Also, on the kind of use case front, I think first of all, it's this idea of using political blockchains for transparency in political campaigns is great. But once again, notice that this will be even more usable in practice if you have a state-issued cryptocurrency, because then you would be able to track donations in a fiat currency and not just in something very volatile. Obviously, there's a lot of use cases in identity systems. Things like kind of participatory governance, including voting, that's an area that needs to be kind of approached fairly carefully. And I think I mentioned before that I think petitions are one area where it might actually be interesting to start. Because petitions are an area where, first of all, because a petition by itself is non-binding, it just generally the way that this works in various countries is that if you get enough signatures, you can either force the government to make a statement in response to a petition, or you can force them to actually have a proper vote on it. But the petition by itself is non-binding. So if the petition ends up agreeing on something that's total junk because the mechanism is broken, and for some second they can stop it. And also, so it is a nice kind of somewhat bounded risk, but still use case that's still, I think, very interesting and potentially worth trying. There's also a lot of interesting ideas around kind of local governance. And I've been talking to Glenn Weil, who's been wrote a book on radical markets recently, and that has a lot of interesting ideas about automatic voting and new kinds of kind of hybrid market democratic institutions that I think are interesting, and launching these solutions for market. And I think ultimately the problem is that a lot of that side of things is fairly radical, and so he wants to come up with a strategy by which it can be tested and kind of go up the scale from something like a small scale experiment to bigger scale experiment, and eventually some kind of big national rollout.
Cool. We're doing some of what Vitalik mentioned. We're now studying the possibility of issuing Taiwan global IDs. Super cool. To allow global scale workers to register as Taiwan citizens digitally, and also we're coming out with blockchain ID system for Aboriginal tribes for BDCO. It's pretty cool. For the digital identities to be organized on blockchain for all 32 tribes in Taiwan. So super exciting for them to kind of build their own sustainable economic system as well. Obviously, and also encouraging academic research. I think it's so important. All of us here are the guardians of the the technology are the guardians of the blockchain and Ethereum. So we must think carefully on the actions we take and also on the words that we spread out. So with that, I wanted to just open the question. You want to say?
I think I have my controversial statement.
Okay,
so
great.
number one, here's the uncontroversial statement that most people agree with. 95% of all cryptocurrency applications are crap and are going to fail. The controversial, the obvious but surprisingly controversial corollary. There is a 95% chance that includes yours.
Okay, super good. So I'm gonna open okay, good. I think everybody heard it? Yeah. Okay, so any questions from the floor? Anyone? Okay, we have one here. Okay, just make it short and make sure you ask. Can someone hand the question microphone to the gentleman here? Or you can just shout out your name and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. So the question is basically what's my think about the permission/enterprise side of things. That's definitely a great question, and I think it's one that we definitely don't talk about enough. I actually do think there's a lot of opportunity for like even large enterprises to move toward paradigms that are not fully centralized, and also not fully decentralized either, because that's a lot of the time not practical. But at least take one step toward decentralization that actually gives meaningful scale security guarantees, right? So so I personally am actually kind of less bullish on consortium chains than I was 1 to 2 years ago. And the reason why is that basically, from what I've seen of consortium chains so far in practice, is that the way they tend to be structured in reality, just because of that's how business enterprise social political forces need to work, is that they actually don't really provide that much meaningful decentralization. So for example, there was one Chinese project that I remember presenting a while back that talked about how, we have this consortium chain that's real live watching use cases operating by control right here. And when they talk about their structure, they're like, we have 7 nodes, and all 7 nodes are run by our company by the same team. So, and that's, I feel, unfortunately, all too representative of what people end up doing, what you see from the consortium chain. Ultimately, I think I fully recognize the need for compromise between centralization and and the practicality of that versus decentralization and kind of the idealistic voters on the other side, right? But I think there are good and bad ways of making that compromise, and I think personally, I'm actually currently very kind of bullish and enthusiastic about state channels and plasma in particular as ways of satisfying that compromise, because what those technologies do is they basically give you the safety guarantees of a public blockchain, because you have this guarantee that says even if the centralized server shuts down, any user can also withdraw their assets and switch them to a different centralized provider. And those guarantees are enforced by a smart contract on the fully decentralized public chain. But where you still get basically most of the efficiency gains of running the paperless server. Right? The only kind of extra cost that you have to add is that basically you now have to have an API where you feed updated Merkle branches to every client. But these days we have increasingly fast internet, and so feeding a Merkle branch to a client every 14 seconds is actually kind of tricky. So I think, and then for state channels, there's a lot of opportunities there for kind of client server applications where even though there's still a server, you have to trust the server much less. So I think those kinds of things definitely can and should be deployed across a whole sort set of different contexts. I would even say, for example, if you're a very small country And then it might even make sense to launch something like a central banking cryptocurrency and have the core registry actually be on the public chain. And the reason basically is that, like, from a scalability point of view, right, like, all that is you're just using it as a base settlement ledger. But and so the only people that really need to have basic notes normally are basically people. Right now, regular users can have accounts, but like they don't necessarily need to, right? But it is extremely important. But the way that most people will interact with the system is through basically speaking on platform-based systems. And what that gives you is it gives you a structure where you do have this kind of small core that enforces this kind of consensus sort of structure that sits on a network which is realistically more decentralized and robust than whatever thing you can construct by yourself for your 12 because ultimately, whatever server capabilities you have are probably going to be fairly hackable. But at the same time, it gives you like all of the kind of efficiency benefits, or most of the efficiency benefits of using the workstation. So I think on the enterprise side, I think the same sort of thing applies to anyone issuing a stablecoin. So I think if you issue a stablecoin, you should launch it as an ERC20, and then you have this separate industry of station lots of projects that will help people actually transact with it at scale. If you're creating an identity system, I think there is opportunities that kind of improve on that by classifying it in certain cases. If you are creating some kind of supply chain system, then you might want kind of classical like hashing techniques. So I talk about like the idea that like blockchains aren't necessarily about proof of existence; they're about proof of inexistence. So blockchain, the thing that blockchains can do that cryptography cannot do is blockchains can prove that some particular actor has signed something, but that they also did not sign anything else that conflicts with that. And that's a guarantee that's really powerful. That's a guarantee that cryptography by itself doesn't make it. There are plenty of applications that really could make use of that kind of guarantee, right? Like one very simple example is like, suppose that you're running some big, let's say, multi-billion-dollar auction, right? And let's say it's a second price auction, so everyone bids, and whoever bids the highest wins, but you pay the price of the person who bids the second highest. So one of the problems with a second price auction is that the operator has an opportunity to cheat, because the operator can look at everyone's bids, and then the operator can see what the top bid is, and then insert a bid which equals to the top bid minus $1. And then basically what that does is it extracts value from the top bidder and basically causes the top bidder to bid their bid minus $1 instead of what they should have bid, which is the second highest bid. Now here is how you can solve that problem with blockchain. You change the protocol so that step one, everyone submits during some period of time, everyone submits the hashes of all their bids to the blockchain. Then timeout. Step two, everyone reveals their bids. And possibly everyone reveals. Now everyone could reveal their bids and it's encrypted so that one particular entity or even some computer running trustworthy or something, right? But like before, there's still this separation of phases. The second phase. And then step three, the winner is revealed, and you can use some sort of knowledge proof to prove that the winner actually is the winner, and that the price that they pay actually is the price they're supposed to pay. And what a blockchain gives you is that a blockchain, by enforcing this kind of pre-commitment property, basically prevents that kind of cheating, because by the time the auction operating mechanism actually sees the bids, the time to submit pre-commitments is already finished, right? And so there's not really an opportunity to submit more pre-commitments. And you can see, and if someone submits pre-commitments and then later on doesn't reveal, that's also something to use. So by kind of incorporating a blockchain as this way of proving that message is not sent, you can actually significantly increase the security and kind of trustworthiness of this kind of blockchain. So I think that there's actually a lot of opportunities for this sort of stuff in many different industry applications. And so I do increasingly kind of believe in the value of kind of some public chain root of trust, but at the same time, I do see some hybrid between centralized and decentralized approaches is the right solution for a lot of these things in the long term. And so I'm looking forward to seeing some applications that
We just have time for one minute.
I have a question.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
we talked about lots about technology side. We talked about like making Tesla, making right. What's your expectation on the financial performance of the Ethereum? You know, like after ICO, are you like trying to keep like Ethereum as a competitive currency and like people writing derivatives?
I believe the person here will be applying a number of these some of the time in this meeting.
All right, let's actually take one more question right over here. Go to our men.
Hey, it's been a very consistent dynamic inside the community, and not everything was very good. So how would you define top three values?
How would I define what?
Top three values.
What is that?
Values?
Value.
Yeah. Top three values or
Top three values and what?
I like there's different layers of values. When you can talk about values in terms of like values of like things that you want to achieve. So we can talk about things like openness, decentralization, inclusivity, fairness, which I think are all very important. Also, you can talk about kind of values that crypto companies and crypto teams should have in the process of building. So on that side, like I think, first of all, like openness and inclusivity are really important, right? If you're building a project which is trying to make the world more open, then your project includes a point, and like 59% of the initial points at bottom that's sold to like 3 large cap VC investors. No, review. Another important one I think is kind of maintaining a spirit of collaboration. So I think that like crypto projects that are trying to accomplish similar things, ultimately have similar goals in mind, have similar values. Like we should not be siloed against each other. We should be working with each other. We should be like it's okay to benefit from each other's research. It's okay to work with each other. We should, I think, have a spirit of, we're not working just for our own very narrow particular tribe, but we are actually working for this kind of big vision for humanity that we're trying to achieve as a whole. Another thing that I think also is important is kind of a commitment to honesty in a very strong sense. And I don't just mean, I don't mean statements that can be proven as literally 100% false against you or lie. I also mean just don't mislead people. Don't omit information that would we are omitting that information. Don't advertise yourself to people who you think should not, but actually will make that message for it. Also, like trying to, another important one I think is like cultivating community, but cultivating the right kind of community. And I think people should be willing to also kind of anti-cultivate the wrong kind of community, right? So like basically explicitly try to kind of reject people who the only thing that matters is safe price, right? Trying to reject people who all the misdeeds and basically opportunity to make it. And unfortunately, with crypto prices right now, there's a bit of a very competitive imbalance between paper that and taking on also, just good academic research. I think is an important value, and having good intellectual environment that encourages quality ideas, no matter where they come from. I was also just caring about things like privacy, kind of always trying to like double check with yourself that both on the technological level and the level of is the thing I'm doing actually accomplishing the thing that I wanted to accomplish. I think like all of those.
I think we're running out of time. In fact, we're over time. And once again, I want to thank Vitalik for and I think to me, to this community, and I think for people who put this together, this is more than just a conversation. I think this is a calling for the community to safeguard, to nurture this space, and also to uphold the value that we instill in this space from the very beginning, the genesis of the creation of this technology. And like I said in the beginning, this year is the 10th anniversary of the Satoshi's white paper, and it's so important for all of us here to do a mental checkup to understand that what we do still reflect on what we believe. I think Vitalik's words are like a wake-up call to everyone in this room. And I wanted to say that if all of us in this room cannot rise to the challenges well, and if not us, then who, right? And if not now, then when? So I think it's super important that we all recognize this by working together. We can safeguard this space. What I like about blockchain is everyone is equal. Vitalik is only Vitalik because all of you believe in it and you continue to do what he says and to believe in what he does. So with that, I just wanted to thank you all for joining, and those who are watching online, and my Taiwanese crew who joined me. And again, thanks a lot for joining. Thanks a lot.
All right, we're going to close things out. We ran a little over time, so we apologize for that. But thank you again for this amazing chat. Jason, we had checked Brian Armstrong a few months ago for Orchard, and wasn't as proud as this, but also another one of our members. Wanted to take a little time and thank the organizing team that put this event together.